Yeah, and unfortunately, we're seeing a little kick up in cases here in our
Yep.
area.
Yeah, I
That-
saw that.
Our
Madison
testing,
County is too.
yeah, our testing went from 5 to 8% positives to 13, 15% positive.
Oh, wow. That's not good.
No, no, and Alltech had a positive so we're testing, I think, about 50 of their employees today. So,
Yeah, there's a lot of people over here that work over there.
yeah,
Wow, you get
What's your-
one positive in there and that's could spread like it did in the prison. Wow.
yeah.
There's
They
a lot of
do a
people
good
that works
job
there.
of shutting things down, though, when there is a positive. They'll shut down a line for a while, get everybody tested, and
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Wow.
I hit the stop instead of the pause, so we'll see what happens.
are we
It's
still
recording.
going?
Well,
Are
there's
we-
George.
Do you think we're going now, Robin? Or are we?
We are. I think I hit the stop instead of the pause, so it might be in two sections.
Okay.
I have to learn how to edit. I don't know how to do that.
Well, I think maybe if it's live now, then maybe we want to, as a group, say hello to Joe. We understand that Joe watches us,
Yeah.
the recording, I mean, afterwards. So, Joe,
Hey.
hello. We
Hey,
miss you.
Joe.
Hello, Joe.
Miss you.
Hey, Joe. Seeing you.
Yeah,
I hope you're doing well.
absolutely. And then Marvin, your screen looks like you're frozen. Do you have, or are you just sitting there nice and, no, you're
He's-
moving. Okay.
He's just
Uh,
He
He's re-
was frozen.
Stan's frozen, or he doesn't have his camera on.
Yeah,
One.
It looks like a picture.
Yeah.
yeah.
Too pretty, huh?
Maybe Marvin, you want to give us an update, what you've heard on Arch and Carolyn?
I haven't heard anything honestly recently. I think Reed was actually out there since I was, but when I was there, Carol was not coming out of the upstairs room where she stays, and she was having some difficulty coughing, and they have something called a cough assist that helps her get fluids up. So that tells me that she's pretty weak. So anyway, she hasn't for a while been speaking, and back in the spring she got a feeding tube. So things are progressing, is no question. So keep him in your prayers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this, for those that might not know, that this is a result of what is her situation?
ALS.
She has ALS. Yeah.
Right, Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, and it's progressing pretty quickly for her.
Okay.
Seems like women have more difficulty with it for some reason. I have a friend who had it
Yeah, it's,
some time back, but she had some difficulty really quickly.
it's not a pleasant thing. So yeah, all of our thoughts and prayers to Arch and his family and Carol. It's tough times. Well, it looks like we're at the 12:15 hour, so let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. And we got a full screen today. This is nice.
Yeah.
We got 12 people on. That's wonderful. So thank you for joining us today. Marvin, since you're unfrozen, would you like to lead us in prayer and the pledge?
Well, I hope we're not frozen.
Yeah,
That will be in January, maybe.
yeah.
All right. Well, somebody have the flag, Robin? Do we? Okay.
I still have it. I don't know if I will next week.
Things are moving, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's bow for prayer. Dear God, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to gather as a Rotary Club, even in this way. Thank you for the connections that we have and the concerns that we have for the health of our friend Joe and for Carol and Arch as they struggle with health considerations. Lord, our world is changing around us quicker than we can keep up with, and help us to be able to do our part as the Rotary Club of Spruce Pine. In your son's name we pray. Amen. Let's pledge. I pledge allegiance to the
To the
flag
flag
of the
of the
United
United
States
States of
of
America,
America and to the
and to the
republic
republic
for
for
which
which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty and
liberty
justice
and
for
justice
all.
for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marvin. Appreciate it. And welcome, everybody. So we get started with some announcements. I just want to, before we get too far in this, let everybody know they might have already heard. I unfortunately have a meeting I got to go to at 12:30. So Marvin, we'll get the party started and get Nelson started on his census, tales of the census taker, and then Marvin will close it out today. So thank you, Marvin, for agreeing to do that. Any Rotary announcements today? I do have a question, and that is in regard to the Presbyterian Church. I have not heard from them. I didn't know if anybody else might have. They were going to meet on the 18th. And
No,
So-
I haven't. I figured that they would get in touch with you since you're our fearless leader.
yeah, so I'll reach out to them again. I sent something out on Monday, but I haven't heard. So, okay. So we're still, as far as our meetings, continuing to do virtual with the hope that early in November we can go to a hybrid meeting where we can meet. Those that want to meet in person can meet at the Presbyterian Church with appropriate precautions, and then those that want to continue Zooming can Zoom. So we do both. Of course, that's subject to that this surge that we're experiencing right now in COVID in the area doesn't. If it continues surging, then I don't know if we want to try and get together so soon. We might want to move it back a little bit more until this turns around a little bit. So we'll watch that closely and see what's happening. But so far, knock on wood, we're not too bad in this area. So anybody have anything else on announcements? Marvin?
I would like to hear what everybody thinks about the dark sky thing. That's going to be coming up for too long. So we only had a few people, I think, from what I saw from Nelson signing up. So what do you think?
For the list, yeah, it's been like the 5 people. That's Cindy, Chuck, Marvin, George, and O'Neill if there's extras.
I would say if nobody else signs up, then we could bring our spouses if we do it.
Yeah,
That would make
be-
me very happy.
That would be perfect. I know Cindy's looking forward to that.
Yep,
But
but I want to bring Dave with.
So right now we have 5, and
Right.
is that right? And so we
Right.
go to 10, you said, Marvin, so then we could bring spouses. Yeah, I mean, I know my spouse would love to go, so I guess, and we had talked about closing this off. What was the date that we gave folks, Nelson, on?
We were going to do it in today's meeting.
Yeah. So if nobody else wants to join us, then I think that's a great idea.
Okay, I'll send out an email back to O'Neill, let him know. And then right now it's George Walter, Marvin Walker, Chuck Shelton, and Cindy Lindsay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
But spouses can go. Sarita and I would go. That's the reason I wasn't signing up. I was going to wait till she could go. She really
Yeah,
wants.
that's the way I was too, Marvin.
Yeah.
If spouses can't go, then I'll just wait till another time.
Okay, well, if Lloyd goes on with Sarita, then that'll bump O'Neill off, and then it'll just be all the Spruce Pine members. And that would make 10 with spouses.
Okay.
Are you
I'll have
good
to check.
with that, Lloyd?
I'll have to
What?
check with my spouse, see if she wants to even go. So that might let O'Neill go anyway. She's
Okay.
usually not real interested in this stuff.
All right, well, let us know about that one, and I can let O'Neill know.
Okay.
Yay, that's good.
So
So
George.
Cindy's a +1, Chuck's a +1, Marvin, we don't know, but George is a +1, and then Floyd. and he's a +1. So that'll give us enough seats for everybody if Marvin and O'Neill go.
Perfect.
Good. George, did you get my email about Bill Felkel?
About he would just tune in.
I think it was a meeting ago that the question was, would Bill be available for the presentation?
Right.
He will, I sent you an email. Sometimes I don't know if they get there or not, but he
Yeah.
will be in Florida, but he said he could do it on the 5th, by Zoom.
Right. Yeah, I did get that email.
Okay.
So really everybody except for Arch, which certainly is up in the air, should be able to attend by Zoom
Okay.
to get their Paul Harris Award.
Wonderful. All right. How about any happy dollars? I know Glenn has some.
Yeah. Let Glenn go
Yeah,
first. He's a big spender.
Okay. Yeah, I have a happy dollar for $5. Being that it's my birthday, and like I was saying earlier, next year it'll be the big 65. So yeah, so I'm in for $5. Happy birthday.
Excellent.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Glenn. Does that
Happy
mean this is
birthday.
64? Am I doing my math?
Yeah, just making everyone think there. Okay.
I got two happy dollars. One is happy birthday, Glenn. And the other is picture in the paper that I forgot about last week.
Yeah, Bill reminded us.
I
I'll
have
do-
a happy dollar. I'm just happy to see Glenn and Janie floating on Lake James. That was very, very awesome. It's a lovely boat, Glenn.
Yeah, that was a real surprise when we
Yeah,
got
it
to
was
see
a
each other
surprise.
there.
Yeah, we
Was on our
went by you and I said,
maiden
oh, that's Glenn. So, yay.
Yeah.
So they're floating in a boat, I hope.
I didn't know. I
Exactly.
thought it was. I thought I might be you or so. Yeah. So that was really great.
That was pretty
beautiful
cool.
out there, too.
Oh gosh, the weather's been amazing.
Well, I've got a happy dollar. Alabama beat Georgia, and I think that's probably why Alex isn't here today. Really, it wasn't some bear tale.
More truth to that than we probably imagined.
Oh, I have two happy dollars. One for the picture of everybody in the orchard, including me, so that's the $1. And the second happy dollar is the orchard's still there despite the history, the pictures.
Absolutely. And I'll do a dollar for the photo. Also, I'll do another dollar. We at the clinic, we were able to finally find a piece of property in Yancey County to acquire, and so we're closing on that tomorrow and opening. We'll use it for a winter COVID testing.
That's good.
site initially. So once winter hits and we can't use our tents any longer for COVID testing, we'll use this space. It's off Pensacola Road over by Smoky Ridge Nursing Home. There's a doctor's office back in the corner. And we've been looking at that for years, but finally it worked out. So
Awesome. Well, that's good.
yeah, so excited about that.
$5 for cart.
You're gonna make this an expensive day, Bill. Okay, I need to do, I haven't done cart for a few weeks. I need to do that too. Boy, I'm racking it up, Robin. Can you count that high? You're muted though.
I'll do cart.
Sorry. I was going to say Nelson and Glenn and Tina are on a permanent cart list. Need to recognize them.
Yeah.
Me too. Present or absent.
Okay.
I'd like to contribute a virtual happy dollars for having been spent the long weekend up there last weekend.
Oh, good.
Oh, great.
Had a
It was
wonderful time
pretty.
with the leaves, and my friend Jill was along. So I'm,
Wonderful. Yeah, last weekend was a good weekend to be here.
Yeah.
the only problem was I discovered a water leak in my house, which is now being fixed.
Oh, well,
Good.
better to have it discovered than ruined
Than not.
your
Yeah.
house.
Absolutely. Well, if no more happy dollars, do we roll into the wheel? And Floyd, can you virtually give us some numbers?
I can.
Is there anybody that doesn't have a permanent wheel number that wants to get a number for today? We've got a bunch of permanent ones. Okay. Go ahead, Floyd.
All right. First number is 1.
One, nope,
Second number is 54.
54. Close, but no.
We doing 3.
Yes,
Second number is 2.
2. Nope.
Rolls over. That's good. Build that pot. That's wonderful. All right. Well, we'll roll into the meeting. I really do hate missing this, Nelson, because I did want to hear the tales of a census taker.
Well, you can view it later.
I can. You're right. I'll come in and look at it later, but I apologize for having to leave, and I'll leave it in Marvin's excellent hands. So
See you, Chuck.
thank you, everyone.
Have a good
Bye.
meeting.
Yeah,
Thanks,
enjoy.
Chuck.
Mhm.
So Nelson, take it away, man.
We batter up here. Okay, I figure we're gonna get a lot of Zoom requests for this video. So what I wanted to tell everybody was, hey, how we doing? This is a US Census. It's mandated by the Article 1, Section 2 of the US Constitution. Not only does it have representation in the House, but it also has money allocations for the roads, the schools, hospitals, and shelters. We count everyone, and we hope to attain at least a 99% of the population for the count. The decennial is every 10 years. And if anybody knows what I did, I was an enumerator. And that's a person who conducts an interview. And I found out that most of the enumerators, very compassionate and caring people. And now what we ended up doing was went down to Asheville, signed up online, and they passed out some iPhones to us. We got book bags filled with all kinds of census forms. Some of them I used, some of them I didn't. But they also passed out masks and a lot of alcohol for washing our hands. And anybody wanted to know about the pay, it was $17 an hour. Plus, whenever I traveled from the house to wherever we were going, it was going to be 57 cents a mile up and back. I was able to go to Alabama. Wow. They gave a $500 bonus. And basically, the training was pretty much online because of the COVID. We didn't get to do much in Asheville. So it was look on the iPhones for training there, but a lot of it was going and actually doing it. And once you start doing it, you got a pretty good hang of the spiel that they gave us to follow this script. And some of the times that we needed to find places, we had to get on the Google Maps and do a lot of geo-tracking. So the iPhone was really handy. Ended up, we had to put in our pay, we had to put in our availability, and we also had to sync it up every day for clients to go out and go find people. And I found out a lot of it was once we arrived at a certain place, one of the biggest questions was, why are you here? A lot of people were going like, I did mine online or I sent it in the mail already. Why are you coming back? And a lot of it was just to check up on things, just to see if they did everything okay. And really, it seemed like we were just a big pain because we were at different places over and over and over again. And some of the things that I really found out was really strange was there's some neighbors that know a lot more about you than you think. And then also found out there's a lot of neighbors that don't know who lives next door. So I figured I'd break this up into 2, 3 different parts of what we did. And one of them was going to RV parks, campgrounds, and hotels. And then it morphed over into going to the homeless places. And then the last bit of it was going to house. So I'll start off with going to the RV parks and campgrounds and hotels. And we did a lot of this during the time of September 9th when I first started, all the way to the 19th. And basically what we did is we picked out a place, and generally it was like in the southwest corner of North Carolina and around the Nantahala Forest area. Some of the parks that we went to, and it was kind of strange. We would go to an RV park, or we'd go to a campground or a hotel and do our enumerations. And you kind of wonder, like, well, why are you going to go there? And for the most part, there are people that have seasonal homes that they may go to an RV park, or they might hang out at a campground site. And some places, people are living in hotels. You know, it's just kind of like some of the facts that I didn't even realize. Now, a lot of it was like a second home, and we had to ask where were they at on April 1st of this year, and if they had already filled out their census. And most of the times I found out that there were a lot of RV parks that people were living in year round because they just wanted to take up and go and travel at certain times, go to different parts of the country. Some other cases, when I went to the campgrounds with the RV parks, that's where the people lived year round. And a lot of it might have been because they were here for jobs and they've just moved to this area just recently, or they're just hanging out for whatever reason with relatives. And I just found it, you know, kind of odd, you know, that people were just, they enjoyed it. There were a lot of places that were around the Nantahala Forest area that people were just hanging out at. They were really nice. A lot of it was situated in a forest, or it was next to a creek or a river, and they were really close to different things. And while we were in the southwest area there, we get to go to the Cherokee Reservation, and there was a handful of us that got to go enumerate on the tribal lands, and we had to get permission by the tribal elders just to go there. And they just wouldn't let anybody in. So we had special permission to go. So some of the nice things that I saw out there, the area was the Bryson City. We got to go out to that way. And if nobody's done the train ride thing, that looks like it would be really exciting to do. I was out at the Nantahala Gorge, went out the Fontana Dam, the Cherokee Reservation, you know, so got to see all of that. And one of the times when we got to go to one of the hotels, I ended up meeting a guy that I believe to be a cousin of mine, that our family originated in Tennessee.
Jeez.
And once he got to his last name, we started talking, and I'm looking at him. I says, "Man, do you really look familiar?" And just because he had some family traits, and you know, once he got talking, I says, "You know what?" I says, "We could be a cousin. We heard our family went across the mountains one time from Tennessee to North Carolina, and I think I found them." So that was really fun. Next part was really eye-opening. During the few days like September 21 to the 24th, we were doing our homeless tour. And what that entailed was going to places like Hendersonville, Asheville, and even did some time up into Boone. And what we were going to do there is we were going to go to shelters, soup kitchens, and regularly scheduled, you know, food vans that would show up to different areas. And a lot of them were telling us, you know, where to go look into places to find homeless people. So some of the places that we went to camps that were in wooded areas. And we also went to places people knew of where people were under bridges, parks that were in the area. One of the things we found out was we talked to a lady at a park, and this was, I don't know, about 10, 11 o'clock at night. We would make sure that if they went to a place that they were going to spend the night, that we'd be able to find them. And it was not so much to interview them, but it was to find out more about, you know, how many are here. in that particular group. And one lady named off 50 different people that she knew of that, I mean, she was first name, last name. Oh yeah, they have kids. Oh, I know this couple here. They usually stay over here in this group. And it was just, she just kept rattling them off. I thought she would stop by about a half a dozen, but we were just sitting there just in awe of her her recollection of how much, were there. And I had no idea that they were like packs all over the place. And she knew where they would stay. And they were this particular park over in Asheville. But that was really eye-opening to hear and to see all of that. Now, I got to go to some of the camps that we saw in the woods, and they were just lined up along trails. There weren't people in them, but we can basically tell, well, from that tent, it looks like there was 2 sleeping places. So we were looking for counts, and if we were at a camp, we couldn't get names, but we could say, well, this particular area, we can ascertain there was maybe a dozen people. And some of the times when we went up flashlights up underneath a bridge, we'd able to go up on top of a ridge up there and take a look and just ask how the people were. If we can get kind of information, like husband, wife, or, how many numbers that were there, we were able to pick up numbers that way. And it was kind of like, I don't know if the homeless were counted before, but that's what our deal was. And that one particular night on the 24th, I did about 17 hours of work. We started at 10 in the morning, where I went to shelters in Hendersonville. Later on, we ended up going to Boone at one of the overnight shelters. And then I stayed up all night from 10 o'clock at night and didn't get home until 5 the next morning, canvassing Hendersonville and Asheville, just looking for folks. And they had them pretty well scoped out about where they would be at. People knew, and we were able to go to places and find people. It was really amazing, what everybody knew out there. But that longest day that day was like 17-hour work day for me. That was a long day. The last part of the thing we did was a house to house kind of like search, where we went down to Auburn, Alabama. I found out that that particular area, they needed to bump up their numbers, and they were trying to get everybody up to at least a 99%, count. There were 500 enumerators in the Auburn area alone trying to look for people and get their count. And I was at places as far south as Tuskegee, Opelika, even as far as north as Lafayette and Lynette near the Georgia border with Alabama. And it was just amazing to see all of the people out there. And then everybody was generally friendly. It wasn't so much that people didn't want to do it. It's like, well, I forgot, or I don't have a computer, or I was going to mail it in. But a lot of people were generally nice, and it was really eye-opening, all the places I got to see. So I kind of like open it up to anybody if they have any questions about it, and maybe I can recollect more. If you bring up a question, I can let you know. Anybody questions?
When you found people, were they reluctant to talk to you? Like they were trying to just keep moving, or did they actually answer your questions? The homeless people, I guess, would be the answer.
When we went to some of the shelters where they're actually passing out food, and we would talk, and a lot of them were kind of like really reluctant to give us any information.
Yeah.
But once we started telling them about the census and say, hey, it's not only a head count for representation, but it also helps out places where money gets allocated. So it'll help out hospitals, it'll help out food shelters, it'll help out roads and schools. And then they kind of opened up, and they're going like, Bill, yeah, okay. And so even though they were reluctant, they eventually, succumbed, because I was on them like a dog, with a scent, and I would just be right there. And hey, you really got to do this. This is some of your civic duty, and it's for meals for everybody. Even though you're passing out a meal to you, if they don't get enough food, then they might not be able to pass out food for the next person that's hungry. And I says, wouldn't it make sense just to get this count and get it done? I says, we only do it once every 10 years. You know, so a lot of them were opening up. They were pretty good with it.
Oh, okay.
So I found out it was a really eye-opening experience. It was something. And just the different places that I didn't know that was around us here in North Carolina, and then being able to go down to Alabama and just seeing it, because I've never been in that part of the country. And definitely the other area of going around Asheville and Hendersonville and up to Boone, how many places, you know, that are available. Like we have like the neighbors feeding neighbors out in this area and other groups, but I was able to see some of the spots that were out here in North Carolina, the Asheville area, about how many people that they take care of, you know, and what all kinds of meals that they pass out. And one spot at a church on Haywood in Asheville, they have area restaurants donate food to the church. So some of those meals were pretty nice at times. And in other ones, it was, you know, sandwiches, you know, something to drink. But if you showed up at every spot that I saw, no questions asked. The only thing was, what do you want? You know, it's here. They take whatever you need. And generally, nobody would hoard anything, but they'd go up and they would take their share and off they would go. And some places they had a little picnic area to set, and some people would take the food and they would just disappear and you'd not see them. But they know where some of the areas are at to go to get food. They know where some of the areas are at to get shelter. But it just, I don't understand. I didn't ask questions about the why part, you know, but at least I saw, you know, how compassionate everybody was about providing for folks like that. So very, very
How are they handling COVID? Were people in masks or not so much?
the people that were passing out food were all in masks. All of the enumerators were in masks. I saw no homeless with masks at all.
Yeah.
And they would congregate and it wouldn't matter. You know, none of them had masks at all, wherever
Gotcha.
I went.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see, I'm guessing it was a month or so ago, it was on Channel 13 and one of their reporters walked up behind Target in Asheville and there was a whole community up there,
Really?
tents and stuff where homeless people live. Yeah, it was
Wow.
huge.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was, and they know about places like this, you know, so the census people, they had a list and we would take off and go to areas, you know, like that Target, you know, a lot of them like, well, go to this Walmart over here. And then there's another one that they stay under this bridge over here. And they knew of those areas to go to. It was really fascinating to find out, you know, how much they do know about how and where they stay.
Could you tell if there are more homeless people these days than there were before?
That one I don't know. I don't know any of those numbers, and I don't know if when they were keeping track, but I heard this is like one of the first times when they were actually counting the homeless, where they haven't done that in the past.
Interesting.
Yeah, definitely interesting. You know, the last couple, it was about a month and a half or so that it lasted. So turned in my iPhones and all of that this past Saturday, and thanked a lot of the people that I met that were really nice, some of the co-workers and just a lot of the folks. They were generally, they weren't doing it so much for the money, but they were doing it, you know, it was kind of like everybody wanted to go out and help. And that I saw a lot of that. It wasn't, a lot of the enumerators were really nice people.
Interesting.
It was never, I never had a job like that before in my life. I would, if I can do it again, I would do it again. So God willing, I live another 10 years, I'll try it again. And
Now, someone's there. I'm curious, was there a language barrier? Did you run into people that just you couldn't communicate with?
no, but there was one time where I got to a a Spanish speaking person, and I was able to interview his son. And his son was, since he goes to school, was able to speak English, and we were able to do that kind of translation. So, but they make allowances at the census that we had a sheet that if we didn't know what their language was, we can at least hand them a sheet where they could point it out, and we can get somebody on the phone and do an enumeration that way. But the only time I ran into a case like that was just that one time, and that was it.
And same thing on the Indian reservation. You didn't have any, whether there were no Cherokees that at least couldn't speak or understand English?
Not that I ran into. Everybody's pretty well English speaking everywhere.
Uh-huh. Good.
But it was nice that we found out that there was a very, very big respect for the elderly at the Cherokee reservations. You know, so they hold the elderly at really high esteem, and that they sheltered them a lot, and that they wanted you to show respect to them, and they asked us not to look at them in their face, as that just to show the respect and let them know, hey, we appreciate any help that we can get and getting numbers and all that. And everybody out there was so nice. I mean, we didn't run into any issues at all.
That's great.
That's an experience.
It was very eye-opening, and I enjoyed the whole time. Got to see a lot of things I would have never thought to go out this way. Especially, I've never been down that far down Highway 74 in North Carolina. I would have never saw the Fontana Dam. I didn't even know it existed. That was nice. And I will do that train ride in Bryson City. That looked really cool.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Bryson
I'm
City.
gonna go back there again.
Bryson City is my kind of home territory.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't even mind Auburn, Alabama, being an Ohio State guy.
I'm glad there wasn't a language barrier in Lee County, Alabama for you.
Well, I had to tell a lot of people, I says, I'm from Ohio. If you don't understand me, I'll speak a little slower.
Jeez.
But it was a very nice experience. I enjoyed the whole thing. I wish that I knew some numbers about Mitchell County, but the last that I saw that I got online, according to the census from 2010, that the population's dropped like 4%. And since July, there's been a 71% population count. So I'm hoping it got a little bit higher than that here in October. So I don't know what the count is for Mitchell County.
So were there enumerators out in Mitchell County? Do you know?
I heard there were enumerators up in our neighborhood, and I'm like living right here, and they're sending me out to, 74 down in the north, the southwest side of North Carolina. I go like, well, I could have done mine up here. I know everybody around this hill.
We had
Somebody
five,
came,
we had 5 in our neighborhood.
wow.
Wow.
Somebody came by our
Yeah.
house asking about our next door neighbors, and they work third shift, both of them. So, they didn't answer the door.
And that was some of the things that they could use. They can use a proxy to find out about somebody next door. And once it got down to the very end of it, down like in the Alabama where they're just trying to find out different places, we'd have to go to next door neighbors and find out, well, do you know who's living there? Do you know how many? And they were able to help us out a little bit, but there are a lot of neighbors that don't know a thing about their next door neighbor. I just really found that odd. And I says, really, you don't know who lives next door to you? Seriously? And they're like, I come down here to get away from people. Okay, I get it.
Jeez.
But it's like you've never seen them. Now, some of the places that we had to go, which was kind of fun, was using the iPhone and mapping and finding different places for an address. I'd have to go to a place, and one time it took me off the map, and there's nothing there. We're out in the middle of the field. And one of the reasons why is there used to be a house there, and it wasn't there anymore. So I was looking at an address, and I would see sometimes a postman come down the road, and they were like, well, I haven't delivered to that house ever. And so I would look and I go, well, there's a driveway, there's a house, there's a house. This is the number it's in between. And then you'd kind of look a little bit more like, oh, I go, they demolished the house and now it's a field. Now, it was sad also when I get to some rundown places where the house has been vacant for years. You know, a lot of times, you know, the people that lived there passed away, and the kids just left the house alone, and then the house is just in disrepair. And
Wow.
a lot of the houses were very challenging to find. You would get an address and you would go up and down a road and not have a clue, but a lot of it was like up here in North Carolina when I do stuff with the UPS. We would go up a driveway and you would think it would just to be one person's house, and then you would end up going further and there's 2 or 3 more places on the road. And I saw that a lot.
Did they send you out by yourself or did you have somebody with you?
No, I was always by myself in Alabama, but in the homeless
Wow.
one, we went with a group of about 4. And then the first part, we were in there with the group of about 3 or 4 of us, where we just meet up at a certain place, and then we would pass out and go to different areas or different parks, you know, to kind of like break it up that way. So it was some places it looked like it was going to be daunting by the numbers that they said would be there, and then it turns out it didn't be anywhere close. And in some places, you know, that since the COVID, they had packed up and they never even opened. So we couldn't, like that happened to us at the Fontana Dam. We went down to that place and made that trip. And if anybody's been there, how far away that is, the place was closed. We couldn't find
Wow.
out. We tried calling, but nobody was answering the phone. So we had to physically go.
I read somewhere where they did, the resort closed.
Right. Yeah, it closed. We didn't know that, but we had to go and find out for ourselves.
That's where we went on our honeymoon many moons ago.
But very pretty down there. So that's really about all I've got.
Well, thank you, Nelson. That was quite an interesting program. We'll definitely keep in mind what you've taught us. So I guess we do the ace of spades, but we don't have the cards. Is that right, Robin? You're muted, Robin.
I'll pick a person and then we'll draw next week. That's what we did
Okay.
the last time. So I've mixed all these up here. Let's see who this is. That's Nelson, number 3.
All right.
So
That's your
Nelson, you
reward.
have to remember to draw next week.
Okay.
Well, happy birthday to Glenn. Any other business before we close our meeting then? All right. Well, let's try to do the 4-way test together. I don't have a screen to share, but I hope most of us can remember it. First, is it the
Is it
truth?
truth?
Second, is it
Is
fair
it
to
fair
all
to all
concerned?
concerned?
Will it build
build
goodwill
goodwill
and better
and
friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Y'all have a
Okay.
good week. Thanks for a
Thank
good
you.
meeting.
Bye,
Thank you,
everybody.
Nelson.
All right,
Bye-bye.
thanks. You're welcome.